Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm the Gnarly Gnome. This is called the Weekly Pint. This is it's a happy hour. It's an excuse for us all to hang out together, have a drink together, and talk about whatever is happening in life. Usually drinking. Usually we talk about drinking and drink together, but you could talk about anything. Anything that you guys think is important for us to discuss. That's what we do here. It's literally like sitting at the bar with your friends, except here I am by myself in the basement. Not by myself. I've got you guys. Hi, welcome back, everybody. Since it's a happy hour, an excuse to hang out and drink together, we need to talk about what everybody's drinking. So as you're jumping on, tell us what you're drinking, and we'll talk about it together. Marco's having a psychopathy. Let's see. Julia is having Seeing Colors from Mad Tree post Speakeasy Night at Higher Gravity North Side. Let's see. Josh is having Sierra Nevada Torpedo Extra IPA. Extra is what they call it. It's an extra IPA. Let's see. Alex is having Sam Adams Cold Snap. All good choices. I have an empty glass, so hopefully you guys know the drill by now. Hopefully it's a clean glass, too. I just picked it up off the bar and rinsed it out. Hopefully it's not disgusting. Hopefully you guys know what to do by now. We have a fridge over here in the corner, and I let you guys choose my beer. Julia, you can't cheat. You can't cheat until I tell you guys to pick the numbers. I have a fridge over here in the corner. It is full of different types of beer. I usually pick Weekly Pint beers off of shelf 2, which is the middle shelf. First person that picks one number, that will be which row, and then the second number will be how many back. So first, not cheating if you already told us what to pick. I told you guys what to pick, but we'll see who actually listened. All right, so the first number that it gets, okay, Marco picks a 3. Second number is which beer back in the row. Somebody else needs to pick 2. Caroline, you let me down. That's fine. All right, row 3, beer 2. Let's hang on. All right, we'll go get it. Clearly, Caroline has not listened to this week's episode of Cincy Brewcast. It's all right. It's fine. It's still in there. It's still, well, actually, now it'll probably get bumped back to number 2. We'll see. And then sometimes I just shuffle the whole thing up anyways, so it doesn't matter. We'll get to it eventually. It's one beer out of, like, I don't know how many, 36 of them. We'll get there eventually. This is High Grain Brewing Company. This is a coastal IPA. I don't know what that means. That could be 2 things. It is called Castle, 7.5%. Let's see. What's it say? It says East, West, Hoppy. Brewed for both coasts, this brew represents the best of both coastal IPA styles. Double dry hopped with Cascade, Mosaic, CTZ, Citra, and Eldorado hops. I'm guessing that this is bitter but hazy is my guess. Has anybody had this? Do you know what I'm in for here when I'm trying this? I guess I could, in theory, pull up some notes about it. Although that's not easy to do. All right, let's see. I guess we are looking on Untapped. That looks like the best source. Yeah, it doesn't really actually, the pictures don't look very hazy. Maybe it is the opposite. Maybe instead of being a bitter hazy IPA, maybe it's a clear fluffy IPA. We'll find out. All right, we'll get this thing on the glass. And then once I get it in here, I'll check the date on the bottom. As that's the downside of the beer fridge in here, is that you never know how old anything is. Oh, it smells good. There is no date on my can, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't like it when I don't know what my dates are. It's all right. All right. That's a little bit hazy. Um, all right, let's see. Let's read, see if anybody has written anything about this. That's the problem now with Elvis Presley says it is nice hop forward. Lisa says it is love a working lunch. I think my image is the Pilsner, but I want to check in the IPA, which was delish. Maybe that's why the pictures are not accurate. Solid West Coast style. Okay, I don't know. That doesn't look oxidized to me. Maybe in that light that you're seeing, there's better lighting. That's fine. It certainly doesn't smell oxidized either. No, that's good. Yeah, it just kind of leans. It's like a Midwest IPA, I guess. There is a little bit of bitterness there, but not a lot. I don't know what the West Coast of this is. I mean, it's hop forward, where I don't know. Maybe that's it. It's good though. Excuse me. Enjoyable beer. Good pick out of the fridge. Not the one you guys were supposed to pick for me, but that's okay. We'll let that slide. One of these days we will get there. If you don't know what we're talking about, make sure you listen to this week's episode of Cincy Brewcast. I sat down with Bruce Guy's Happy Hours, the two hosts, Brett and Mike, and we talked about a lot of different things, including some of the stuff that's in my fridge that is actually beer that was made by Urban Artifact that I really wanted to drink tonight. Marco says, "Heard a coffee? Okay, I'm getting there." I have definitely been battling some kind of crap over the last week, and it always tends to manifest with me as respiratory stuff, always. So I'm not dead yet, although certainly was questioning at one point if I was just going to drop dead. It's a bad joke. Was not going to die. Let's jump right in. And actually, I'm just realizing that I didn't. Well, maybe I can do it as I talk. We'll jump into. I don't have any artwork pulled for notes either. What can I do? How can I do this here? We can probably just don't worry about me as I do things while I'm trying to talk to you guys. That could go like this, maybe, possibly. And then will this work? That won't work. Guess I should have planned ahead, huh? We may not do the labels this week is what might happen here. Although they're fun. There's a couple good ones. Okay, that'll work. And then that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, let's do that first. I only have a couple of them. Do that. And then in theory, nope, that doesn't work. That'll work, and that'll work. There we go. Speaking of coastal IPAs, this is one from 50 West. We knew this was coming because they did put out a big PDF of all of their releases for the year, and they have a mixed pack of IPAs. And this is they have the East Coast, they have a West Coast, they have Coast to Coast, and then a rotating kind of seasonal one. But this is the East Coast one. I'm assuming if we haven't already seen, I guess we have seen the labels for the West Coast because it was already out in a different mix pack. So East Coast IPA, and it says, "So scrumptious you'll scutter for another." Luscious hazy IPA with hoppy tropical fruit aromas. If anybody remembers when I had the West Coast on, I believe this show, I didn't think it was very West Coasty. I thought it kind of leaned very far to the East Coast. It had I can never remember, much like this beer, if it was like clear and soft, or if it was hazy and bitter. But it did not fit into what I think a West Coast IPA should be. So this mix pack would be maybe more interesting to kind of put them together and see kind of how they are envisioning these different coasts and the different beers. I don't know. We'll see. I'll try them. I'll try them and I'll let you know. Up next. Oh goodness. Gotta click over here. Nope, that ain't gonna work. Gotta click here and click there. This is their Pilsner. We have seen these. They did a whole kind of rotating series of different lagers over the last year to try to figure out what they wanted their kind of core lager to be. That's not even the right way to put it. They have their core lager. They have American lager, but then this is their I don't know what you're calling it, but this is the one that they settled on as the winner, I guess, of this rotating series, was Pilsner, which is, to me, not surprising because Pilsner is such an awesome beer style. So I don't know why I would be shocked. Let's see. Up next, oh man, why is this giving me so much trouble? Up next, another 50 West beer. This is a baseball beer. It is called Secret Weapon Double IPA. I can't even read half the stuff on here. This is from their Long Strange Journey. It's their kind of rotating series of stuff. It says, I have to zoom in so I can read. Double dry hopped IPA, double IPA brewed with freestyle Nelson Sauvin, freestyle Riwaka, and full spectrum Citra cryo hops. Is freestyle like a thing? Is that some kind of hop thing? Does anybody know? Because I've never heard of that before. But 8.3% ABV. It's a big old baseball beer. It is definitely not one for sitting in the sun and drinking a whole bunch of. I can tell you that. It'll probably knock you on your butt. Calvin and Hobbes vibes a little bit, yeah. Very different type of baseball kind of vibe than what a lot of the other baseball beers around town are feeling like. The last one, we talked about this. I don't know, probably was it last week? The keg collar came through the TTB for Rebel IPA, and I got excited about the fact that they were going to kind of do something bringing this back. This gives us a whole lot more information about what that is. It is, if you look up here in this corner, this is in honor of their 40th anniversary. They're bringing back select favorites from the vault. Rebel IPAs, everything I love about West Coast style IPAs. Big citrus, grapefruit aroma, subtle pine notes for a flavorful, refreshing brew. Cheers to 40 years. So this is going to be part of either like a 6-pack or probably some, I would assume it's a mixed pack of just some of like those historical beers that aren't around anymore for whatever reason. I liked this beer, and with how much IPA has kind of turned into something else, not that it's bad, I recognize that there's a lot of people that love what has happened with IPA, but I like bitter West Coast style IPAs, and this is that beer. So hopefully they really bring it back and do the same thing that it used to be, and not change it and make it soft. I don't like soft IPAs. So that's all of the label approvals I have, because there really weren't many. Going forward, I'm not planning on pulling labels every single week. The idea is just to pull labels when maybe like once a month or something, or when there's something that's really noticeable that comes up that I feel like we should talk about. But I will do it frequently enough that we don't get a big giant backlog of them. That's the plan, at least right now. That's my plan. And if anybody has been paying attention to anything over the last couple years, anything that I plan can change at any second, because life is chaos, and that's what makes all of this go around. It's chaos. I'm fueled by chaos. I want to talk about High Grain. High Grain is they put out a I don't know if they put out something to the press, or if the Business Courier was just chomping at the bit to talk about Brentwood, but they are getting close. They did put a video up on their social media about it and kind of show where they're at with the space. They are hoping to be brewing this month at Brentwood, and hoping to have it actually open by the end of April is what they're shooting for. And we'll throw a big ish at the end of that. I have been trying to get them on the show to sit and talk and do a podcast kind of about High Grain. There's a lot to talk about since we haven't had them on the show for so long, but definitely talk about Brentwood and about kind of this expansion and what it means for the brewery and for all that stuff. But the schedules just have not been easy to put together, but I'm still working on it, and I will still work on it, and we will eventually get to sit down and talk about it all. But it is a big kind of growth, a big change for them, and I'm excited to see how it works out. I think it's a great spot for a brewery over there in Finneytown, Springfield Township, I guess technically. It is. There's definitely a need over there for a craft brewery, which I think is the secret to all of this. If you find the right spot, you can make good beer, and you are true to yourself. You can be successful still. I know that there's a lot of people talking about a lot of negativity towards the craft beer industry and how it's turning into something or going away or whatever. People aren't drinking craft beer anymore, but I think that's all a load of crap. And I think that there's still a lot of room for a lot of breweries. I'm curious to talk and kind of see what the long-term sort of roadmap for a place like High Grain is now, as they're kind of moving into this. It's a much bigger space, but when you look at it, it is a lot of event space, a lot of taproom space, beer garden space. It's not. There is a lot more production space, but it doesn't seem to be that is the kind of the real goal behind it, is to start making way more beer. I assume they want to make more beer, but they're not trying to turn into to Rheingeist. From what I can tell, from looking in from the outside in, obviously, they would have to tell us that or otherwise. Let's see. Speaking of expansions, Nine Giant, they finally opened their next expansion phase, which is way different. It is just taking a section that was the space next door to them, expanding the dining room, expanding the kitchen a little bit, giving them a little bit more elbow room, a lot more tables. It was funny, like when I first saw that they were doing the expansion, and I kind of looked at it, I'm like, it's just not really a ton of space. It's not going to really do a whole lot for the tap room. And now that you can kind of see it, you can tell that there's definitely a lot more space now. It expands a lot of room in their tap room and gives them a lot more seats to do their thing. And I'm sure the kitchen space is very nice for them too. It was a very small kitchen before, but I like watching those guys keep growing. I love what they do. One of the most underrated lager breweries in the city is Nine Giant. So if you haven't been over there lately, go over there and see what they're doing because it's pretty exciting. I'll probably talk about them more in the near future. Zach says, so I listened to your podcast today with Brett, and I think his name is Mike, and I was wondering what makes a brewery bad. Mike seemed to be very picky about certain breweries he enjoys. That is a great question. I think it's different for everybody. Also, what is the name of that bad brewery in Bloomington? I can tell you. He sent me a text that night with the name of it. It is. It is called Little Charlie's Restaurant and Brewery. And it is actually in Batesville, Indiana. It is not Bloomington. They have been around for 25 years. I actually don't know about this place. Batesville. Yeah. I don't know. Yep, it's Little Charlie's. Anyways, the what is the question here? So what makes a bad brewery? So it was a restaurant / brewery. Does that count? I still think it counts. If you're making beer, you're a brewery. I get that there are some places that focus a little heavier on food and less on beer, but you should be doing both right. And we see that here in town. Just the two breweries we were just talking about, both High Grain and Nine Giant, kill it on both sides. They do great food and great beer, and if you're gonna do both, you have to do both. You can't do one halfway and be like, well, we're not really a brewery, or vice versa. We're not really a restaurant. We're a brewery. Well, then don't make food if you're not going to do it well. Zach says that BJ's was a problem in that area. I disagree. BJ's had some issues, and I've definitely had some beer there that was not great. I think it was a bigger issue of freshness of beer and things like that I experienced most of the time. There's far worse beer than you can get at BJ's around. But what makes a brewery bad? And there's a whole list, and I think it's going to be very different for different people. I think that you can have some things that by themselves maybe aren't going to make the brewery bad, but when you couple it up with other things, it kind of compounds those problems. So, like if it's in a bad location and the beer is bad, that compounds on each other and makes it a little worse of a brewery. Whereas if it's a really terrible location, like it could be a horrible, horrible spot to get to, impossible to park, all of that stuff, uncomfortable inside, but the beer is incredible. Most of the time I'm not walking out being like, man, that was a bad brewery. I think that it has to be multiple things that kind of sit on top of each other to make a bad brewery, for me. But I mean, I guess if one thing is really, really terrible, maybe it would be enough to make me change my opinion about that. But I can't think of an example off the top of my head of a place that I would call a bad brewery just because one thing is a little bit worse than what I want it to be. Will not be as good of a brewery as another place, but that's my opinion. For somebody else, they might have very simple kind of standards on it. Like, hey, look, if I go to a brewery and they don't have food, that's a bad brewery. I'm sure there's people that think that. Or if I go to a brewery and they don't have an IPA on tap, that's a bad brewery. That's a completely justified opinion if that's what people feel. But I think it's way more complicated for me. We should talk a little bit about Sonder. Talking about, I guess they're not really expanding, but they're taking over their food program in Mason. Shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody when they started doing their food over there in Westchester. It was only a matter of time then before they took things over in Mason. Also, I will be really interested to see how they adapt to kind of bringing what is working well over in Westchester to Mason, while also trying to develop their own personality there for what Mason would want on as far as food goes. So it'll be interesting to see. Zach says, I think the service is what counts too, if the owners/bartenders are social with you. That definitely factors into it. All of these things are valid things that make a brewery good or bad, or add to that. And a lot of in the same way that, like, and I don't know if I've really talked about it a whole lot on this show, but I give every bar a dive score. And dive to me is not a negative term. It's a term of comfort almost. But every bar that I go to, I plug in different things into a spreadsheet, different criteria, and there's a lot of them. I think there's probably, I think at last count there was probably like 15 or 20 different kind of factors that all get a score between 1 and 10, I think, for most of them, and then those are all weighted, and it spits out a dive score. I think you could probably do that with breweries too. When you go in there are certain things that you would give each one of them a score from like 1 to 10. And then at the end, it would spit out some kind of brewery rating for you of how good that is for you. And, you know, the best being 100 and the worst being a 0. For me, going back to the bars, because I have a good perspective on that because I did build that spreadsheet. I could probably do it for breweries too. That would be interesting. But it all is based off of Applebee's. Applebee's is direct right in the middle for me as far as bars go. So it would probably be kind of the same thing with breweries. You know, I don't know a good example off the top of my head, but a place that is food, but it's not incredible food. It's not bad food. It's just food. A place that has beer, it's just fine. There's not a big selection, but there's enough that you can get a beer and you're going to find something you enjoy. It's in an okay part of town. It's okay to park there. You know, it's kind of comfortable, but kind of not. You know, it's got those bar stools that are uncomfortable. There's just kind of middle of the road, and that would be a 50 on a scale. That's how it works for me, at least. Zach says, I'm going to be straightforward, that I'm really excited that the food from the kitchen area at Sonder Westchester is coming to the original location. I was never a big fan of the food that's currently at Sonder, just my opinion. Good chicken sandwich. That's the best food, in my opinion, at a brewery has been Third Eye, especially since Taco Tuesdays. There are a lot of really, really great breweries with food. Third Eye is great. Both locations, their kitchen is doing great things. I love the sliders at Dogberry. Of course, they are also a client of mine, so I have to say that. Huge fan. If we're going especially on client stuff, Beards and Bellies down in inside of Wooden Cask has awesome food. Love it. I've been a real fan. Alexandria, the Bender's Pub Grub down there has been really, really good every time I've eaten there. Obviously Nine Giant Obviously, high grain. Zach says, "Client, what are you doing besides all of this?" Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I'm a photographer and videographer. That's it's the quote unquote day job that kind of blends in with all of this. Um, let's see, who else? Moreline. Moreline has great food. I've been really happy the last I don't know 10 times that I've eaten there. It just seems like they're really kind of dialed in right now. When I was down there for Bockfest, which we will talk about, I got the steak frites, which I've never eaten there before. I don't even know how long that's been on the menu, but my God, it was good. Oh, it was great. It was perfect drinking food. It was wonderful. I'm trying to think of some other places that are really good. Barleycorns, the wings at Barleycorns. Whew. Zach says, that's how you fit that free swag you're wearing tonight. This was not free. This was definitely paid for. And it's, I've had this for a long time. They were selling these in the shop down there at Moreline. And it has, you can't really see it on here. I don't know if I can. It has a beer koozie built into it and a bottle opener built into it. And anytime that I see a sweatshirt that has a koozie and a bottle opener, I'm getting it. most of the swag that you see me wearing is definitely paid for. I'm not saying that I haven't gotten free stuff before, but I spend an inordinate amount of money on brewery swag and beer. Way more than I care to admit out loud on a show, so my wife won't hear. But it's a lot. And her as well, honestly. She has all of her brewery t-shirts and stuff, and we pay for those too. We don't go around soliciting for free things. Not to say that I don't get free things, but anytime I do, I'm usually disclosing it to you guys, so you will know. Bockfest. We need to switch and we need to talk about Bockfest because Bockfest weekend just wrapped up, and I drank so much Bock beer. Let's see. Zach says, sorry I'm late to this live broadcast, but did you get a chance to drink that Urban Artifact beer? If not, I was going to suggest it. Nope. Caroline ruined it for us. So instead, I am drinking this one from High Grain. It's called Castle, and it's okay. In fact, I'll take a big swig of it now. Oh, that's good. Julia says, much rain, so much walking. Yes. Friday especially, was the weather was not ideal. Although, I will say that for Bockfest, especially parade day, a little bit of kind of crappy weather is almost part of the experience. But it was a lot of walking. Although I ended up walking way more on Saturday than I did on Friday. So many Bocks. Known as a chicken now. A lot of Bock. In fact, I'm really glad that when you guys picked the beer, you didn't end up with one of the Bocks in there because I've had so much Bock this week and I'm kind of over it for right now, and we'll have to take a week off before I dive back in. I started the day out. It was the whole weekend. So Friday, walked in the parade with Paradise. And then we met up. I met up with Josh and Julia, and we walked all the way up to Rheingeist to Bockfest Hall there. Hung out and drank a few Bocks there. And then from there, I walked over to Northern Row and had a drink there. Did not realize until I was leaving that they were still poking beers outside, even though they said online that they were only going to be doing it until 8 p.m. They ended up doing it much later than that. So I was disappointed that I missed that because at that point I had already cut myself off, so wasn't drinking anymore. But Saturday they were poking beers again on Saturday, even though they didn't say they were going to be. They so we did a tour in the morning, tour of the new Moorline Brewery, and then after that we walked over to Northern Row, ate some food. Greg says that the streetcar is key for covering ground downtown. And yes. So when I was leaving that morning, I told my wife, I said, I'm exhausted from yesterday. The last thing I want to do is go walk around downtown all day. I said, but I'm going to be smart, and I'm streetcarring everywhere. All day long, I'm streetcarring. And I did. I rode that streetcar so much. And somehow I still walked twice as much as I did on Friday. And part of that, I'll explain part of how I did that. But went to Northern Row, had some food there because finding a sausage was way more difficult at Bockfest than it should have been. That's my one biggest complaint about Bockfest this year is that there was not nearly enough sausage around. There should have been sausage booths set up everywhere. Every street corner should have had somebody selling sausage. Had some food there at Northern Row, and saw that they were poking beers. So did some beer poking. From there, was with my stepdad came down for the tour, so we walked over to Dunlap Cafe, where there were hot dogs, which is a form of sausage, and drank some good cheap beer there, and then from there I really made the rounds. Ran into to Blake the Brewery Explorer right after that, and then kind of hit up a couple bars on the way down on the streetcar, because I needed to get over to Covington for an event in the evening. So I took the streetcar as far south as I could, and then still had to walk all the way across the river to Covington to shoot that, and then turn around and come back into town. So I ended up walking way more than I wanted to, and yeah. Zach says, did you get a chance to hit up Fib or Sam Adams? I did not. Those were two places that I did not get to. I was going to really try to get to Sam Adams, but it just didn't happen. There was a lot of places that I was looking at the list, and I said, yep, I want to go there, and I want to go there, and I want to go there, but there was just too many. And especially since most of my drinking ended up being on Saturday night. I did pretty good, though. I was ranked number 15 for my check-ins on the Bockfest app. So had I been able to go down on Sunday, I think I could have hit number 1. Zach says, I'm sure the bottles of Sam Adams are still available. Yes, I'm sure they are. There's always a whole list of beer that I would love to go grab. Yeah, honey was good. Julia says those rankings are bullshit. Yeah, we saw that it was I think I get bonus points just for existing. That's the way it should be. That's the way I tell my family. Marco says, who were the 14? People that were like down there. If you were down there all 3 days, you were checking in each day. I feel like you could do pretty good. So keep in mind, I was ranked number 15. And I, out of the whole weekend, only went to 15 places. So, if I had made it to more, could have figured it out. So that was my Bockfest. A lot of Bock beer, a lot of walking. Not a lot of rain. There was a lot of rain on Friday, but Saturday was great. Saturday ended up being a gorgeous day. Zach says, had the Third Eye Debauchery. That's a good one, yes. I have some of that laying around here somewhere. And actually, I think I've got some of the barrel-aged in the cellar from last year. Should probably dive into that soon. That's that would have been a fun one. Um, so Bockfest, I think it was fun this year. Um, like I mentioned, not enough sausage. That's my biggest complaint, especially at Rheingeist. I love Rheingeist. I think they nailed the vibe of Bockfest Hall. Um, Julia says Noam and I both had one check in at Rheingeist. I was ranked 215 and he was like 10. It was not 10. You were like 215. And I think when I checked in, which I checked in before you, which might have factored in a little bit, I was like 160 something. So yeah, there was definitely a big disparity. Um, I don't know how so I'm with one check in, there was probably just a lot of people that were tied. And so somehow it just, maybe it's alphabetical. I don't know. Zach says Kelly's private stash barley wine was amazing this year. It's always great. Greg says Listerman's smoked Bock was always good. I was slightly disappointed in the Listerman. I didn't think it was smoky enough. I know that everybody in years past said it was too smoky. I thought it was not enough this year. Zach wants to know, does Rheingeist have a Bock beer? They did. It was called Cincy something, Cincinnator probably. Although it wasn't a Doppelbock, it was just a single Bock. But man, it was good. It was that was probably my first one that I drank. No, well, sort of. First one that I got at a brewery on Friday. They don't can it. No, they did not can it. Just on tap at Bockfest. But anyway, they nailed the vibe of Bockfest Hall there in the tap room. I mean, that tap room's just perfect for it. But man, just the food situation there just is not ideal. The vending machine that you get pizza out of is fun, especially on like a normal day when you're down there just hanging out. Rheingeist Cincinnator was their Bock. Yeah, it was good. That might have actually been one of my favorite ones. Greg says Rheingeist was going crazy busy right around 6 p.m. Saturday, so we bounced to Northern Road. They were both busy, like all day long, and Moorline too. Like all three of those places were slammed. I thought it was fun kind of hitting up some of the other bars, although they didn't have a ton of Bocks on tap the way Bockfest Halls did, but there were some that you had to kind of go to a bar to get. There was Shiner Bock around on tap with some places, which I thought was fun. There was Saunders Bock was down there. A lot of different ones that you couldn't get at Bockfest Hall that you had to go kind of seek it out. And I think that's part of what I really loved about this year's Bockfest is that they were almost, if you wanted to kind of do the whole experience, you really had to go to a couple different places. You had to get out on the street and go to a different place to check in on your app or whatever, or to get a specific Bock beer. Josh says, "Who wants pepperoni pizza at a German festival?" I agree. Pepperoni pizza's fine, and I'm sure that there was lots of people that ate a lot of pepperoni pizza. But man, if they had just loaded that thing with sausages and it just spits out a sausage and you grab a bun and just some mustard, that would have been perfect. Zach says, I'm definitely excited that Rheingeist has their hustle out for the year. One of my faves. Yep, it's good. Julia says, do you like how they did Bockfest in the halls this year? Do you prefer the all-in-one-place deal? I absolutely see perks to both ways. Haven't decided yet which one I feel is better. I liked it this way, and I know that is controversial for a lot of people. I do think that having you have to have at least one Bockfest hall, maybe even a couple, the way they did it this year. But I like something that makes people move around. It spreads the crowd out a little bit, although it was still really busy in all three of the Bockfest halls. I would have even thought it would have been better if maybe there were more Bock beers that you had to go to each Bockfest hall to get. Julia says, I think it allowed the crowds to disperse and spread better, but at the same time was tricky figuring out which area of town to focus on, if that makes sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And especially if you were down there for a long time on Saturday, you could move around the whole city pretty well and kind of get to them all. All right, Zach Holly with the sausage joke. Greg says a sausage vending machine would be so German. Utter mustard dispensers right beside it. I would love that. And I feel like you could have done it with their vending machine that they already have there. I feel like they could have modified it for sausaging. Just spits a little sausage out. It'd be great. I'm a sucker when I'm drinking beer for just a. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. I don't need sauerkraut or anything. I just need sausage, mustard. That's all I need. I'm in heaven. Julia says an exclusive Bach at each hall would have been super cool. I think and maybe that should have been communicated better too. Of here's why you should go to this one. Here's why you should go to this one. Because there was like the Sausage Queen finals were at Rheingeist. The Parade Awards were at Northern Row. They had the Bockfest experience was at Moorline. That maybe should have been communicated a little better, but at the same time, communication and Bockfest, those are two things that don't always go together very well. That's just kind of the way it is. I'm curious to see once the Moorline event space / tap room is finished up there in McMicken, how that shifts kind of the Bockfest vibes, because they do own Bockfest. Moorline owns the trademark to Bockfest. Now they have entrusted the brewery district to run Bockfest, but they definitely own the trademark. So I'm assuming they will have a big part of it when all of that is up and running. Is my assumption. Marco says, who had the best West Coast or cold IPA? Did I drink any IPA? No, I didn't have any IPA at all. I had a Rogan beer at one point, and I definitely had some Hootie throughout the day. Everything else I think was Bach. Oh nope, I had a cocktail. I had one cocktail in the middle of the day to break things up. At one of the Bockfest spots. I walked in and they had the only Bach they had was one that I had already had that day. It was a 50 West or something. And I said, you know what? I think I want a cocktail. And it was a nice little break. That's the fun of Bockfest. You can drink anything. You could drink an IPA. Nobody would care. So that's it for me. Zach wants to know if anyone has tried the Braxton lemon meringue pie release with the graters this week. Waiting for me in the fridge. I have not yet. Greg says, I had no clue Sinbev owned the Bockfest name. Yep, they own, there's a lot of trademarks that are owned by that company. It is a lot of things. But yeah, one of those is Bockfest. The only time they ever do a lot with it, typically, is when somebody in a different city tries to do their own Bockfest thing. And then sometimes they'll get a phone call from Sinbev and say, hey, that's a Cincinnati thing. You guys stay out of it. Well, that's a story for another day, though. Because, well, it's a story for another day. You'll see people make posts sometimes, and at the very bottom of it, they'll have Bockfest as a registered trademark of the Cincinnati Beverage Company. Zach says, what is your favorite St. Patty's Day themed beer? Guinness. Guinness all the way. That is one of the things on Patty's Day. At some point, I'm drinking a pint of Guinness. I'll drink other things that day also, but at some point, that is the only beer that I guarantee I will have is Guinness. And I enjoy it a lot. I love a Guinness every once in a while. We'll see how Patty's Day works this year. There's too much family stuff going on that weekend. Listerman Pot of Gold is going for me. Yep, Pot of Gold's great. There's a lot of good ones around. There's usually something good at a lot of breweries. I don't think Rheingeist is doing their they do Luck as their dry Irish stout. I don't think they're doing that this year, and I'm a little disappointed in that. All right, we're gonna wrap things up so I can go sit and drink a beer. Greg says prost to everybody. Happy post Bockfest week. Hopefully you're drinking an IPA instead of Bock beer now. No, drink all the Bock. There's still going to be Bock around for a few weeks. So if you see Bock while you're out, grab it. Try to try as many as you can because there are some great ones. We do this thing right here in Cincinnati. So we'll be back next week. If you didn't listen to this week's Brewcast, make sure you're subscribed to that so you download it. There's maybe I'll get it'll probably be a short video if I get a video done this week. But some short video content. Hopefully I will record a couple long videos that are sitting over there waiting to be done. There's like a whole backlog of stuff. There's always a backlog. We'll figure it out. I forgot to pull the music up, so hang with me while I try to figure this out. I guess I need to get it programmed into the new mixer here, and then I won't have to do this every time. Oh goodness, there it is. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. All right, guys. We'll be back next week. You guys know, same place, same time. Although sometimes we're a little late, but it happens. It's not a show. We'll see you guys. Maybe in honor of the cocktail that I had mid-Bockfest, maybe we'll drink cocktails next week. Stay tuned.